How to bring animated characters into your live streams. Well, ever since we saw the movie Roger Rabbit, we've all wondered how they could do this. And more specifically, how can you do this in the moment, on the fly, and live? That is kind of what we're going to be talking about today, because I think it opens up a whole new realm of possibilities when you come to the content of your live streams. And so I think we're going to be having a lot of fun with this technique on the show and in future shows. So stay tuned for that. But today I'm going to show you the nuts and bolts of how that's going to work. Also, we'll be doing an NAB wrap-up session. So this is going to be a fun show. Stick around. Welcome to Wirecast Live. Good afternoon, good evening, good morning, wherever you're watching from. Welcome to another episode of Wirecast Live. I'm Andrew Haley, your host and the live streaming and product evangelist here at Telestream. And each week we dive into cool topics related to live streaming and bring on the latest guests and topic experts to tell you what's happening in the world of live video streaming, live video production. Now, before we get into that, and I will get into that a little bit today, we're going to be talking about some cool stuff that you can do with the latest version of Wirecast and with this new technology called NDI by NewTek, or Network Device Interface. I'll get into that, but before we do, let's start with some news and announcements. What's coming up and what are the things you should know about? First of all, coming up on the show each week, we do this Thursdays, 2:30 p.m. Pacific time. If you want to tune in live on Facebook, YouTube, or Periscope, you can always watch them on demand later on our YouTube channel. We are happy to be viewed at any time. You can subscribe if you're curious on any of those platforms. You can just click the subscribe or the like button, and you can follow us on Facebook, Twitter, and YouTube as well. So any of those are good places to find us. And of course, you can be notified when we're live if you set your notifications to follow us, and we'd appreciate that. And share it out if you think this is something other people would like to watch. We can also be found at Wirecast on Twitter. So if you want to tweet at me during the show or leave a comment, I'll try to keep an eye on those, and we respond to questions and comments each week. So it's a great way to join the conversation and participate. We love to see you guys out there and try to take questions as we can. We also have some team members behind the scenes answering questions as we go along, so we should be able to get to you right away. It's a great way to get real-time, in-the-moment feedback or comments or answers to your questions. Okay, so upcoming news and announcements. First of all, we have some live shows, some live events. We just got back from NAB. That's why we were off on a break last week. We were out busy. My voice is finally recovering just a little bit from that show. It was a great show, and I'll be talking a little bit more about the wrap-up in a bit. But coming up later this month, we have Streaming Media East, which is going to be in New York, and it's going to be May 16th to the 17th. And we will be demoing some of our products at booth number 206. So if you're out on the East Coast, if you're in the New York area, stop by Streaming Media East. It's a great place to interact with some of our staff members and see some cool new stuff that we're going to be announcing. And in addition to that, we've got some great webinars on the horizon. Next week, we'll be doing a live linear OTT, the ingredients to automated live linear OTT streaming, which is for enterprise level streaming, some very, very sophisticated stuff. And if that in any way applies to you and you need extremely powerful and high performing encoding or automated live linear streaming, that's a great place to check that out. We are going to be doing a whole webinar next Thursday morning at 11 a.m. Pacific time, 2 p.m. Eastern, or 6 p.m. GMT. And you can sign up for that at our website, telestream.net/events. It's a great place to learn about all these news and announcements. And then finally, we have some cool upcoming Wirecast live shows, and those will be coming up each week again on Thursday. We've got some great guests. Coming up next week, Quinn. I'm sorry, I got that wrong. Coming up next week, Gary San Angel. He's on my right. Did I get that? Yeah, there we go. So Gary San Angel is the head of the USC School of Medicine, or he works at the USC School of Medicine, and we'll be talking about live streaming in the health and medicinal environments and the purposes of and the uses of live video in those types of settings, academic settings, as well as I think they've streamed live surgeries for teaching purposes. It's pretty cool. So you're going to want to check that out. And then the following week, I'll be interviewing Dave Werner. He's up in my left here. Dave is the sort of evangelist, and he's a great product expert over at Adobe. So a lot of the stuff we're going to be talking about today with character animating and some of the cool things you can do with that, Dave is going to come on and talk about Adobe Character Animator because nobody knows better about that program than him and how to use it. So he'll be, I'm excited to talk with him, and I hope you guys will get a lot of use out of that show because I think there's some really neat stuff, and he's a product expert in that area. So we'll have Dave from Adobe on. I'm excited to talk to him. And finally, Jennifer Quinn, who I started with, but last but not least, she'll be on the 25th. We'll be interviewing her, and I'm excited. She's a total sort of celebrity in the Facebook live streaming world. I really like what she's doing in her shows there, and she's an awesome advocate of all things video, live streaming. She holds a great talk show each week, and we'll get into some of the cool stuff that she's up to. So those are the upcoming 3 shows. I hope you will enjoy those. Definitely tune in each week if you want to catch those. And then we are actually going to be launching a new show here at Telestream called Telestream Live. So that is going to be coming up soon. So stay tuned more for that. I think the first show day will be on the 16th of this month, May 16th, and it's going to be all about captioning. And each week we're going to pick a different topic, but we're going to go through a rotation where we will go back into captioning. Now, captioning I know is something many of you are curious about. How do you do it? What are the best ways to go through it? And we're going to be bringing on one of our captioning experts, and he is going to be hosting a whole show on that. So and many more going forward. So Telestream Live, stay tuned. We'll be putting updates for that at the events page, and then eventually we'll be launching a website where you can find all this stuff for any of our live content. So lots to do, lots going on here at Telestream, but thanks for bearing with me as I get through the latest news and announcements. And I think that leads us to our next topic. Let's go through our NAB wrap-up session. So if you don't know what NAB is, it is the one of the major shows for broadcasters and in the North American broadcasters and all of that. It is a huge show in Las Vegas every April, and we were just out there, and I think somewhere in the neighborhood of 100,000 or more people attend each year, and it's really a big show for Telestream and a lot of our products and a lot of our customers. And I think that all in all, we had a really great show. It was really fun to meet a lot of the Wirecast users and broadcasters out there. I talked myself hoarse in less than a day, and then, of course, had 4 more days or so to go. We were also exhibiting at the Facebook Live Pavilion, which I think is the first time Facebook has exhibited at that show, which was cool. It was cool to see a lot of their partners and talk to people that are using Facebook Live. And so all in all, really cool show. I had a great time, and it's really interesting to see how everybody is using Wirecast. And one of the big themes that I got from that show is that a lot of people are very interested in live comments, live interactions, audience engagement. I see that as one of the pivotal strengths of Facebook Live, and streaming online. And I couldn't agree more. So we will definitely have more announcements on that score coming up in future releases. But for now, don't worry. We definitely hear you. That is really high on our priority list as well. And then the other sort of cool thing that happened was we got together with the live stream crew and also our friends over at Live Streaming Pros. Luria and David were having a great sort of live coverage of NAB session. You can check that out at the Live Streaming Pros website, and also if you just search for NAB Live Streaming Pros on YouTube, you'll find a bunch of great interviews and videos. And I did a demo of actually some of the stuff we're talking about today, a preview of Wirecast 7.6. There was all kinds of fun stuff. So it was a great time to sit down with them and actually meet them in person. I hadn't had a chance to do that before, and we had a good interview. I really enjoyed it. So, and we also will be. I talked with Livestream and confirmed that you can actually stream to Livestream with Wirecast now through RTMP. So there's no restriction on that. You don't need to go back in the old days. You either had to go out to a hardware encoder or you had to push out through the Wirecast virtual camera. and into their software and then stream to live stream. That's no longer the case. You can stream directly to live stream, and there will be more coming up on that news as well. Hopefully we'll integrate directly with them coming up soon. So lots of fun stuff, and I think it was all in all a really good show. Hopefully if you haven't had a chance to attend NAB, make plans to go next year. It's Vegas is always a always a crazy town, and there's a lot going on. So in addition, you can go to the show floor and see a lot of the latest technology and trends and so forth. So if you have thoughts on NAB, tweet at us at Wirecast with the hashtag WirecastLive, and we can put it on screen and you can join the conversation. So that was our NAB wrap up. And because we don't have a special guest today, we're kind of taking a little bit of a breather after the show. I'm going to just dive right into our content for today and then come back and circle up with questions. One of the things my Mac Mini isn't capable of doing is doing the demo and decoding a lot of the pages here that I need to read all your comments. So I'm going to close, after the demo, I'll close my programs, then go back and read your comments, and we'll do some Q&A and spend some time with that. So let's head over to the desktop, and I've got my desktop pulled up here, and I'm actually on the Telestream Live events page. This is, again, the one I mentioned at the top of the show where you can get all that information I was telling you about. But today, what we want to do is show you some of what's possible. You may have already tuned into the demo video that we did on this, or seen some emails from us or something on this. But what's pretty cool here is that you can replace yourself with a live animated character using programs like Adobe's Character Animator tool. So I'm going to come on screen here, and then we're going to replace me, or maybe even do, if you can, Deborah Lee, if you have a chance, do a side-by-side showing my camera and the character camera so that we can see how that works a little bit. And it looks like we may need to reset our Wendigo character there. So this character animator may be, we may have to come back to that. I'm going to show you the demo here on my screen so you can kind of see how this works. So the first thing is that if you are new to this, you don't know what and how all this works. This all works because of this integration between software programs called NDI. And if you just Google NDI tools, that's going to take you to the New Tech website. And this is where you can find a lot of that. You can learn about NDI a little bit more. You don't need to know much other than the fact that this is a way to get video over IP or from computer to computer or program to program using this technology. And it's really just a easy way for the two software programs or video signals to find each other, a receiver and a transmitter to find each other across your network. And any program that has this implemented can quickly grab these high quality signals, and you don't need cables, you don't need capture cards, you just need your network, your local network to be working. So head over here. This is where you will find plugins for a lot of tools, so and a lot of other software programs. So if you go to the bottom here, then you'll find that this is where you can download stuff. And the reason I point people to this is if you plan on using NDI with programs like Adobe Character Animator, which I'm going to show you, you plan on using it with Premiere, or you plan on using it with After Effects, which I think are the three current software programs made by Adobe that work with NDI, then you need to head here and download this thing called NDI for Adobe Creative Cloud. This is the sort of the magic plugin that was written for the Adobe programs to make NDI work with the Adobe Transmit, plugin or engines, which is basically Transmit was written by Adobe to share Adobe content or video content between different programs. So NDI just latches onto that and then streams that out in a format that, or pulls from their programs through Transmit and then streams it out for other programs to grab. So you need to download this. It's free to download. If you're on Windows, if you're on Mac, then you need to basically download it here, the NDI program for Adobe Cloud. So in my case, I'm on a Mac. I do recommend you download that. I've already downloaded it here, and it will install on your computer as basically a background plugin for your Adobe apps. Now, I've also already downloaded the Adobe application for Character Animator. So I have Photoshop, which doesn't actually do NDI, and I have Character Animator. And so as long as we are using or opening one of these programs and that plugin's installed, then Adobe will, then NDI will work with these programs. So let's launch Character Animator, and I'll show you. There it is. So you can see right here, it's already working. Character Animator grabs my little webcam right here, and I've got this character filled up. And I'm not going to be doing a Character Animator demo. Dave Werner from Adobe does much better demos and can teach you a lot more about this program. One thing you'll notice that's cool is that this is actually capturing at 30 frames per second. So as I blink, he blinks. As I move, he moves. You know, as I open my mouth or go to sleep, he goes to sleep. So that is amazing. I mean, we're doing some basic motion tracking. I don't have to do anything. I'm not having to go and click with keyframes and painstakingly use my mouse to animate actions. He's tracking to me, and there's behaviors and logic in the software that Adobe has brilliantly built in here that are real time, happening in real time, and you get this amazing smooth motion. It's awesome. So you can see how sort of lifelike it makes him. And you know, if I have, again, this is on my goal list here, but it's to get arm tracking. If you can get, like, if I could like raise my arms and his fins would raise, or if I wanted to like make a point, or you know, do a dance move or something, he could do that, right? At the moment, it's just tracking facial tracking. It's tracking in my mouth, it's tracking in my eyes, and it even tracks to voice if I had an audio input here set, and for some reason it won't grab the audio microphone from the webcam. Not quite sure why, something to do with sample rate perhaps. But you'd see that if the audio, if you had a valid microphone plugged in, it would bounce up and down, and as audio was occurring, that would more or less track to the mouth movements. So you have this idea where you basically you can talk and your characters can talk. And it looks like we got Wendigo working, more or less. So I'm going to pull, Deborah Lee, if you want to replace me right now, there he is. So this is an example of a character talking while, and then if I smile, they both smile, right? So it's pretty cool. I have to say, a lot of people think this is kind of a gimmick, or you know, just some sort of fun feature, but when would you use this? Why would you use this? And my answer to that is really straightforward. People, I mean, if you watch from the time you're a kid, you watch cartoons, like they are engaging. You like to watch cartoons. You can't take your eyes off them. They look lifelike, but there's something that's so engaging about them. So if you have material or content that you want to sort of get across to people, a really great technique that teachers and sort of educators and edutainers have known for a long time is that if you get a cartoon on the screen, people will watch longer, they'll listen longer, they're more engaged. And so this allows you to do real-time content, real-time engagement, and I wouldn't be surprised if if somebody was to do a study on the same type of content, the same live stream or whatever that was presented by an animated character or an animated fish or an animated Wendigo character versus that same content presented by just a person with a camera on them, I think you'd get a longer period of attention from people watching. So right there, I think that this gives you a content delivery tool that you've not had access before to in the live space. And that will change the nature of the game, in my opinion, on the types of live streams you'll see and the possibilities. And you can, again, bring on all kinds of characters. Now, this can be used from everything from entertainment to infotainment and to education to activism, right? There's really it doesn't matter what kind of content, but if we look historically, you'll immediately start thinking entertainment. So a good example of the character animator, sort of the uses of it, is this Stephen Colbert clip. If you've seen anything with Stephen Colbert or what he's doing online, he interviews animated Donald Trump, which is a character that they created a sort of a too true to life story about how Donald Trump, became president because, and they went through this whole animation movie about how he, wanted to become president. And then they kind of bring this character back again and again, and he can say things and do things that normal Trump can or doesn't do necessarily. And Stephen Colbert can interview him live and in real time, and that's because they can use Character Animator to do that. So I'm going to just play a real quick clip. You'll see.
Thank you for being here, Cartoon Donald Trump. Thank you, Stephen. It's great to be here. He started it. Wait, what? Who started what? Anybody, Stephen, whatever they started.
So that is a perfect example of it's a really fun segment, and he's interviewing this cartoon character real time. It's like Roger Rabbit or the movie, and it's happening in real time. You don't need to do weeks or like a lot of work later. You can do this in the moment with tools like this. So let me show you. Let's go back and show you how that handoff occurs. So right now we've got Character Animator. It's tracking me. And there's a lot more you can do with that and what this program's capable of, for example. And I use Character Animator, but you could certainly do this in After Effects. You can certainly do this in something like Premiere, where you can play out different video clips or things like that, where you don't necessarily have to render those files ahead of time. But Character Animator in particular is interesting to me because of this sort of content, this new type of content that you can make on the fly. And so once you've installed the plugins, you're going to go to the preferences. And this is where you will find basically very two simple preferences. This program is more or less still in beta, so I think you'll see a lot more stuff added over time. But for now, the one you really need to concern yourself with is the live output preference. And here, if you have the NDI plugin installed, you'll see it appear on this list, and you'll enable the transmit and by just clicking enable, right? And then you choose whether you want to output it to a monitor, whether you want to output it to to NewTek NDI, and there's other plugins that work with this as well, but the NDI is the one we're interested in because that's what works with our live streaming software like Wirecast. Then you can choose whether to disable it when it's in the background, so forth. Once it's enabled, my frame rate's actually going to go down because my Mac is limited on its processing capabilities here. But you'll see this little stream button down here. You also see the stream tab up here. So I'm in the stream, so it helps me see what my final scene looks like. I can add backgrounds. There's a lot more that you can do here. But for now, we've just got Finn the fish here, and he's moving and blinking and tracking with me. And you can see that it's actually streaming in real time. And then I can open something like Wirecast, and I'm going to be pushing the limit here. You can see my CPU cores are pretty high right now. Adobe Character Animator, and especially once you start the live streaming and live output, is not for slouchy computers. So you don't want to try to do this on an underpowered machine necessarily like I'm doing here. But once you open, say, Wirecast, for example, you can then pull in the live stream through the NDI handoff. Now, you don't have to do this on the same computer. In fact, me, as the Wendigo character here, is occurring on a separate machine from our Wirecast, the broadcast that you're seeing. And I can basically, hook a camera into that and then feed the signal across the network. Again, that's what NDI is really good for. And then it can, and there you can see that's the demo video that we kind of showed this before a little bit. I'm showing you in real time now on the show. So we open Wirecast, and we'll just keep an eye on that processing power. But here is where you'll see the NDI source. So at that point, Finn can pass himself right into Wirecast. And now what I'm doing, he's doing. I'm getting that signal live. Wirecast is working. Everything's working. So, my frame rate's a little low there, but that's just the way that is. That's okay on this machine. But yeah, if you can get a real 30 frames per second, you get this crazy smooth motion. If you get all your rigging ready, you have maybe somebody to help manipulate the puppet a little bit, or you can manipulate the puppet with your mouse or something if you want to. There's different actions you can make it do at certain times. You can preset some actions that it can take or some things like that. But you can see how kind of cool this is. So that's how it happens. That's how the handoff happens. You make sure you're streaming, and you make sure you bring it in as a source in Wirecast, and it should just, if it's on the network and it's transmitting, it should just appear there. And you can have a lot of fun with this. And you may, depending on your machine and the capabilities and how Adobe Character Animator isn't the best at handling cameras, and sometimes it tries to compete with Wirecast or vice versa over a single camera source. So you might want to think about either splitting your camera signal or doing more than one camera or doing more than one computer. Just to offload some of the processing or the load that Adobe Character Animator needs. So you're going to have to figure out the best way to do this workflow yourself, but it shouldn't stop you from beginning to experiment with this, because I think that, like I said, there's some really fun and exciting possibilities for this technology, and I think we're just getting started with it. So, you can start to imagine this type of stuff happening in 3D, in augmented reality situations or 360 cameras. There's just, you start to meld this sort of, imaginary life. And look, I can kind of move my head, and he's tracking with me, and I can kind of talk about this. So, yeah, I hope that this kind of shows you the way forward on how to do this yourself, if it's something that you're interested in. And if bringing animated characters is something you'll never do, that's fine. I'm not here to say this is something you have to do. This is not, me imposing my views. I just happen to really, maybe I just love cartoons, and I'm just so excited that, now I can bring them into my own work from day to day. But, if that's not the case, and if I really am right that this is opening up some really cool possibilities, then you should check it out if it's something that you can see being helpful or fun in your own workflows. So I'm going to close this demo, and I'm going to open the comments here, and I'm actually going to mute them so that hopefully we can bring in your questions and comments. I'm going to head over to the Wirecast tube page here. And then I'm also going to pull up the Facebook comments, and we can see what you guys think. Let's do user. There we go. And there's our live stream right now with a good thumbnail. So let's see. And then I'm also going to pull up the Facebook page real quick. And I will, unless somebody tells me otherwise, I'm going to stay as Wendigo, I guess, for the moment. But definitely, you're welcome to switch back and forth as you like, however you like, on the content there. All right, let's pull up the questions here. So we have 30 people watching. Thanks for showing up, guys. Hope that was useful for you and interesting. Let's see who's in the house. Rob, good to see you. Never looked so good. Thank you. Lutz, good to see you. Thanks for joining you. You're happy about the NDI integration? We are as well. Alex, thanks for showing up. What about using NDI for Skype calls from another Mac? Absolutely. So you can, again, if you go to that NewTek Tools website, so if you're on another Mac, so if you already have NewTek software, NewTek's built it into everything, right? So if you have the talk show box, you can take NDI in no problem from your TriCaster or from any of their other tools. They're all about NDI. They invented it, and it's integrated already. But if you're on a Mac and you have Skype, then you'll need one of those tools. So if we go to NDI tools, you'll see that there's a suite of tools that may be useful for you. So if you're on the Mac, you'll see NewTek is traditionally a Windows-based software company. They build all their stuff for Windows, so they have stuff like a scan converter already built that's free. A scan converter is basically like Remote Desktop Presenter. It's a screen capture tool, and you can grab that Skype call from your screen. It'll also grab audio, and it'll transmit over your network to Wirecast. Now, if you're on the Mac, you need to go with a third-party developer that looks like NewTek has found called Sienna. And Sienna has built the scan converter Lite, so it looks like it won't have all the features right away. It'll maybe give you some, and then you need to pay if you want the full version. But still, it means you still have that ability. You also have a video monitor, so you can see NDI signals, and an NDI signal generator. So that basically creates equivalent to test patterns. You'll also notice this VLC plugin, which is a player. You can play VLC files out across your network through NDI. It's an easier way to do that. So it's pretty sweet what you can do here. So let That's a great question. Hopefully that answered your question. You basically launch Skype on your Mac, on the other Mac, then you'd launch Scan Converter Lite, and then you would, or the Scan Converter if you need to pay the whole version. I'm not sure exactly what limitations that has. Then you would stream that out over your network and capture that in Wirecast. Great question. And that one was from Alex. Let's check our YouTube folks, see how you guys are doing. So Mark, thanks for showing up. Hopefully, greetings from Barcelona. Thank you. Vincent, do you publish a schedule of speakers? We do at the moment. The best place again is that telestream.net/events. So I don't know if I can sign in here. Hold on. And let me sign in here for a second. Okay, so yeah, so your best bet there, Mark, is telestream.net. We can actually put the link on the screen for you, and then /events. And then we will also, again, we're working on it, but pretty soon we will be launching live.telestream.net, and you'll be able to find all that information there. It will be a lot easier. The events has everything: webinars, live shows, live trade shows. It's everything. So events is still going to be helpful, but we recognize that you may not want to know about all that. And if you're just talking about live shows or upcoming guests on our show like Wirecast Live, then you may do that. All right, next up, PTZOptics. So cool it is. Good to see you there, PTZOptics. Mark is asking, as a journalist, let me ask you something on copyright contents. Why don't you dedicate some shows to using videos or photos for streaming and allow and whatnot from other sources such as films and news? So yeah, I think maybe we could have on a copyright lawyer or somebody about live streaming rights. That might be a fun topic. I don't want to pretend that I'm a legal expert here, so I would run the risk of giving either inaccurate or incorrect or just plain out bad advice. So I'd rather have an expert on who can talk about that stuff a little more with a little more content knowledge or domain knowledge, and maybe, you know, we should try to find someone. So if you know somebody, it might be a good person for us to interview. Give us some names. I'd love to kind of, again, talk about stuff. We do get a lot of questions about rights and content and that sort of stuff. Let's see. When is the update for Wirecast Cam coming for iOS? Stay tuned. We definitely we will have updates on that product as well. How are custom avatars made? Palmer, I recommend you check out Adobe Character Animator's website and tutorials. You can make your own avatars, your own puppets. The sky's the limit, so you should check that out. And they can even show you how to make those animated in real time. Is it part of Character Animator by default, or is it a new purchase? Yeah, so they provide some free puppets for you to use, and then you can also build your own or use your own. It's basically any Photoshop file, you know, that you convert into the right pieces for an animation. So it's pretty straightforward. I'm going to jump right back over to our Facebook folks. Mike Flanagan's asking, guys, I love these streams. Do you use a MacBook Pro? And this may be off topic, but using a green screen and utilizing replay on 6-camera shoot recently crashed my system. So yeah, green screen plus 6 cameras really depends on your computer, your capture cards, and a lot of stuff. Any idea how you can handle this better? So if you're finding that your computer is not up to the task of processing that many sources in the moment live, your best bet is to offload that processing to something. You can get an external switcher like an ATEM television studio, TriCaster, or a Roland or something, which can really handle your cameras and your switching real fast. And then you can use Wirecast to just handle the last piece of it, the streaming and the graphics. So your best bet, if your computer is really not going to do everything you need it to do, it's really, that's where your limitation factor is, then just look at breaking down or splitting off some of the processing workload. You can also look at things at the back end, like externalizing your recording to something like a Samurai or an Atomos Ninja for an external recorder, or there's also the HyperDeck Studio or HyperDeck shuttles and so forth. Just look for opportunities and ways that you can take jobs and give them to other pieces in your workflow chain. But good question. We don't use a MacBook Pro, although I do use one personally. In fact, actually, the only MacBook Pro right now is my personal laptop that's generating Wendigo on the network. So that's the only job that it's doing at the moment. Everything else here is the Mac Mini, and we have a Mac Pro in the studio that's handling all of this. Andrew asks, can we pull in Adobe Character via the desktop presenter without frame loss over the network? So I think you're going to get, I think NDI is the best way to pull in Adobe Character Animator. You're going to get a much better result than with, say, a desktop presenter. NDI has higher frame rate, lower compression, lower latency than desktop presenter. So if you do need to pull in stuff, that's really your best option there. Desktop Presenter is still going to be doing similar things to what NDI is doing, but with less natural plugins. You also won't get that chroma key that is naturally, that alpha channel that's naturally in the NDI streams. So I don't recommend using a Desktop Presenter unless for some reason it doesn't matter if there's no transparency and for some reason NDI is, I don't know, not a good option for you, but I really have a hard time seeing where it wouldn't be the better choice for cross-network transmission from Character Animator. Does NDI require Wirecast Pro? Good question. No, it doesn't. It's Studio or Pro. And Haiti says amazing and cool. It sure is. And yeah. Looks like when you set up your live stream, can you pick if you want to live stream to an account, page, or group? Yes, Renzo, you absolutely can. So all good stuff. All right. Guys, I think that's it for today. I'm just going to check one more time here. Marissa, thanks for tuning in. No problem on the updates. Palmer, thanks for tuning in. All of you guys, I appreciate you watching. We'll see you back here next week on Thursday. And we do want to thank our sponsors. Thank you, Deborah Lee, for reminding me. We want to thank our sponsors for a second for the show. We have multiple people and companies that we work with here. AJA, Blackmagic, Magewell, New Blue FX, Prompter People, PTZOptics, and Wowza. All great partners of ours, and we could not do this show without them. And speaking of the show, we'll be back here next week to talk with Gary Sanangel from USC School of Medicine about streaming live, about health and live video streaming in the health and wellness space and as well as the education space. So it should be interesting. And how does live streaming apply to medicine and medicine education? I think it's going to be interesting. It's something that you typically don't associate with, that space, but we're going to be diving in deep on that topic. And we will pick another tutorial or learning session for that week, which we will be announcing probably early next week. So if you're curious about what the learning session is going to be, stay tuned for that next week and watch our channels on social media for the latest updates. Thanks again for watching. I'm Andrew Haley. I will see you next week.